I've been using the Quad Cortex for live gigs for a little over a year now, and it's been great. My load in and load out is easier, my tone is consistent, no one is asking me to turn down anymore. And ultimately, after building out a few different presets that cover all my usual sounds, my show prep is even more efficient. So today, I'm gonna show you how I use one of my 3 go-to presets to program my sounds for live. Let's do this thing. For today's example, I'm gonna be programming sounds for an older demo that I actually really love. As you can tell, it's reminiscent of that early 2000s rock vibe, which I personally love. So our next step would be to decide which preset rig we're gonna go with. My go-tos right now are the JM pedalboard, the JM Worship, and the JM Pop Punk. I actually think all 3 of these would yield pretty good results. And if it was a production, I'd probably use a mixture of the 3 presets, but we're approaching this as if we were doing it live. So in this case, I'm actually gonna go with the JM Worship preset because I think most of what I would end up playing is centered around that sort of like edge of breakup guitar, ethereal, reverby stuff. Now that we picked out the preset we're gonna use, we're just gonna go over to our Quad Cortex, duplicate it, and save it into our target set list. So here's our original copy of the JM Worship preset. In order to duplicate this and copy it into the appropriate set list, all we're gonna do is press this ... in the upper right-hand corner here, then click Save As. Now it's gonna pull up all your preset menus, or as I treat them, set list menus. In this case, I'm gonna put it under YouTube here, and then we're just gonna paste it into the appropriate place it is in the set. So if your song was song 5, you'd probably put it in 1E, since that's the 5th preset down. In this case, this is song 1 because it's our only song, so we're gonna put it in 1A. So click on 1A, and then it pulls up a menu so we can name it. I'm gonna call this 2000s Jam. Stand by while I type. All right, cool. Then we're just gonna press next. Now you can sort it however you see fit. I'm gonna call it guitar because it is a guitar preset. I'm gonna press save. And there you have it. We've got our preset copied over, we've changed the name, and it's placed in the appropriate part in the set. Now that we've got our preset saved, we're gonna set the tempo. And to access that, all you have to do is double tap this tap tempo button here. And you're in. I like to use this knob to turn it because I still like turning knobs. Our tempo is 102, so I've set it to that, and I've set it to preset. There's 3 different modes here, but essentially preset sets the tempo for the entire preset, so any scene or whatever within here, the tempo stays at what you've set it to. If you set it to global, all of your presets will be at the same tempo, and then if you set it to scene, you can change the tempo per scene. In this case, our song is just one solid tempo throughout, so I can set it to 102 and preset and be good. So when I'm programming all my tones for live, I just kind of go in order that they appear in the song. First thing I'm gonna do is set the Quad Cortex into scene mode, okay? That's up in the top right corner here, and then I'm gonna scroll up on the screen to pull up my scenes. I'm gonna start with this first one here. I'm gonna rename this to Clean Hook, but you could name it whatever you want. I like the color blue that it already is. I think that's good. I'm gonna roll with that. So I'm gonna click on it and press the check mark just so I can go back here and see what's on. I know I want the compression on. I obviously need the amps on. For delay, it sounds more like a quarter note than a dotted 8. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Let's see, we got... Yeah, that's definitely the vibe. I like this reverb, but let's see what the shorter one sounds like. I like a little dreamy. I think the other one's probably truer to what it is, but we'll let it go. In this case, I'm gonna take my first stage drive off. That's what it defaulted to on. See if that's any better. Yeah, once again, I think this is closer to what the tone actually was, but I'm gonna go ahead and leave that first stage drive on. I just like that little extra grit. I think it adds a little bit more of a live feel, if you will. So then the next sound we're gonna need is Well, I guess it depends on what we're gonna play, but let's do the rhythm sound. So there's that big chunky chord. So what I like to do is actually take the previous scene and I press this copy button and then I'm gonna assign it to B. The reason I like to copy and paste my scenes this way is it saves the automation changes. See now I changed the dotted eighth to a quarter. It's just gonna copy it over. So that way I'm not undoing or redoing any sort of changes. Obviously this drive is not enough. I'm just gonna go straight for the big one here. It's our third stage. Yeah, that sounds good to me. I don't think we need delay. I'm just gonna take it off. Yeah, that sounds good. Maybe even just no reverb. Yeah, no reverb. Safe. We're gonna do the same process again. I'm gonna go up, I'm gonna copy this over. Now, this will be like all our chimey lead. I'm gonna go back to stage one here. I think that very light distortion is probably what I want. We're definitely gonna want the delay back on, and this time I'm gonna put on my big reverb. Yeah, I like that. I think that sounds good. So now we got our chimey lead part, we got a rhythm part, we have the first chorus part. There's also a rhythm part in the verse. I'm gonna actually grab this big chord one because I think it's gonna be pretty dry again. Probably don't need the full distortion, but what about the second one here? I think this distortion level is higher than what's on the actual recording, but once again, live, you know, it's fine. I think it's cool. Now, the only other part that's really left is that big chorus lead, which is kind of a combination of the sounds we have. So I'm actually gonna copy the chimey lead over and use that as a bass. So I'm gonna copy that to E, and for today's example, it's the most distorted sound there is, so I'm gonna make it red. I usually make my lead tones red. I'm sure someone else out there does that too. I'm just gonna go and put in the biggest sounding distortion and keep the delay and reverb and see what we got. Yeah, that sounds really good to me. And that's pretty much all our sounds we're gonna use for us, so I'm just gonna press save, make sure it's all good. And now we're gonna take those presets we just made and play through the song, or at least get through it to the best of our abilities with band-aids on our fingers. And that's my process. I'll just simply repeat these steps for each song in the set. Now, what I love about the Quad Cortex is that it gives me quick access to all my go-to sounds. That way I'm spending way more time learning the parts and playing guitar and less time on dialing in tones. Because at the end of the day, if your guitar sounds good but you don't know what you're playing, like, what's the point? If you want to grab a copy of any of the presets you heard today, the links to them are in the description. There's bundled editions available as well in case you want to grab a few presets at a discounted rate. Huge shout out to everyone who grabs a copy. It's a big support to the channel. Be sure to leave a like on the video before you head out and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Share it with a fellow Quad Cortex user, and I'll catch you next time. I feel like I'm really leaning back to get in this shot. That was bad.